All right, Air. Try to laugh without smile. Are we good now? Oh, we are. Just trying to fill the space here. Hi, welcome to Salton Studios Earth Day Extravaganza. We're here to celebrate the land that we walk on, this beautiful rock hurling through space, not too far from a burning ball of gas, keeping us all warm this spring. I'm Tanner G, and let's all introduce ourselves.
I'm Laura Godenick.
And I'm Georgie Corkery.
And we had just, I think we should start always by saying that we are quarantined together.
Yes.
So it's not like we're coming together for just this. We're all housing here and making the best of it by doing some streams. So to start us off with this little Earth Day extravaganza, Laura is going to share some local community news with us, stuff that's happening in our community here in Salt Lake.
Yeah, so I just got an email from Michael Kundick, who is one of the community leaders, especially within the permaculture community, and he's also running for mayor under the Green Party.
For Salt Lake County.
For Salt Lake County, thank you, yes. And I just wanted to read some parts of his email. First of all, we won't be having any permaculture gatherings still. We're still practicing physical distancing until further notice, although that's no surprise to anyone. And then in response to COVID-19, we launched the Neighborhood Resilience Initiative, which supports a coordinated community effort to increase the local food supply through starting and supporting organic farms and gardens. And if you're interested in getting involved, there's a Facebook group that you can go to, which I have not prepared for. What is that one called? It is called Neighborhood Resilience Initiative of Utah. So you can go check that out if you are interested in getting some local food during this time especially. And then also if you're interested in volunteering 6 feet apart from other people, the Krishna Food Forest and Farm, they do a lot. They have a huge garden behind the building, and so the Krishna Food Forest and Farm is well underway with special thanks to help from community volunteers, which is always done 6 feet apart. And you can contact the UPC board member and community farm manager Kelly Case if you'd like to help out. And I'm going to read her number on air. Is that weird? Maybe? How should we contact her?
Facebook.
Facebook. Reach out on Facebook. You could find her under Kelly Case. And I think that... Oh, one last announcement. In celebration of Earth Day, we are opening up applications for our PermaBlitz program. This program provides our community the opportunity to install gardens for those in need. And we are accepting applications until June 5th. And you can submit your application. You can submit it here. Hyperlink. You can find that probably on Michael Kundick's Facebook page or...
The Neighborhood Resiliency Facebook group.
There we
probably.
go. I'm sure. Yeah, exactly.
Is it too long to read out? I can type it in and put it on the screen.
Oh, for the Google Doc? It's signing up through a Google Doc, so yeah, that's okay. So that wraps it up for community announcements that I have. Georgie, I think that you had some tips for us this Earth Day regarding how to live in harmony with the environment.
I have 10 tips for you guys, but first, I want to hear you guys play a song.
All right.
Oh, that's right.
We'll play one. Sam,
Yeah.
are you in a good place to come join us for a song?
Yeah.
All right. This song that we're going to start off with is an original, and it's a little love song for the planet.
1, 2, 3.
What?
4 is everyone. Red means it's live. Green means it's on. You just press it.
And this one we pretty much practiced for the first time today, so the other ones were a bit more rehearsed.
Do you want my seat? No. practicing it about an hour or two ago, maybe 2 hours ago to an hour ago, and it was great. I was sitting in the sunshine, reading my book, and I was very impressed.
I just remember that you didn't have a mic, but Georgie just said some beautiful, lovely things about the song. I think she said it was the best song she'd ever heard. Is that?
Something like that.
Yeah, cool.
Just nod and smile.
All right, let's do this. The fear of love drove me clear up a mountain for a friendly sky to kiss my face. We sat in saturated sunset and melting ice machines. Everything we ever wanted in every shade of green. Please stomp out my guts in your sundress and tell me atop every peak. Choke me into my most sincere amen, but please don't lie to me. 'Cause underneath there's a doorway where every single shape must come undone. And up the road there's a garden with every shade of green beneath the sun. I'm tired of drinking bloody water. I'm tired of breathing aluminum wind. I'm tired of knowing all I know, and I don't want to feel alone again. Toss me gentle in the clear blue water. Let my feet tread soft the wind. Let me know I don't know nothing. It kind of feels like home again. 'Cause underneath there's a doorway where every single shape must come undone. And up the road there's a garden with every shade of green beneath the sun. Dreaming in the dark of day and bathing in the blue, I saw a lamb dance to the lion in the crimson light of moon. No peace was there to spoil the silence of the trees. Now ironwood and wheatgrass are temple walls to me. If you were the moon, I'd be caught in your sheets. And if I were a meadow, would you feel the sun in me? I'm a simple intersection of every silent spring, dying right beside my love in every shade of green. 'Cause underneath there's a doorway where every single shade must come undone. And up the road there's a garden with every shade of green beneath the sun. Thank you very much. All right. Thanks for listening to that. Hopefully it was decent for having practiced probably 3 times.
Yep.
But all right, I think we're ready for some pro-environmentalism tips from
Alright.
sustainability professional Georgie Corkery.
Woo!
Woo.
All right. So I have 10 tips for you guys. Some of them are pretty straightforward and you've probably heard of before, maybe several times. And hopefully there's a few that you haven't heard of and you'll be learning. I am going to pull them up really quick.
While you're pulling that up, Jared Anderson says, "Woohoo! Beautiful song."
Thanks, Jared.
He's right. All right. So the first one I wanted to talk about is turning off your outside lights at night. Most people know that this is a good idea for sustainability because it reduces energy consumption. But what I'm talking about here is helping birds during migration season. And right now is actually peak migration season. It goes from March to May. I'm dyslexic. And we're in April, so birds are flying high, and they fly at night. They actually can tell where they're going by the stars like we used to. They don't have GPS, they use the stars, and so when we turn on our lights at night, they can get confused and disoriented and not make it to where they need to go. And this is bad for the birds, and anything that's bad for the birds is bad for us. Birds are literally the canary in the coal mine, and the coal mine we live in is our beautiful earth. So that is tip number 1.
That's why we treat it like a coal mine.
Tip number 2 is something that you've probably heard of and are doing. If not, you've thought about and you try to incorporate it into your lifestyle as much as possible, which is eating locally and organically.
Woo!
Woohoo!
One reason to eat locally is because, one, you're supporting the local economy, which right now we really need to do. Salt Lake City, actually, their farmers market vendors are still selling, and some are doing at-home deliveries and pickups. They have pickup stations. So if you're interested in that and you want locally grown produce, look up Downtown Farmers Market, and they have that stuff on their website. But
I know, I've been using that every week.
we've been using it together, and it's been pretty nice.
Can we really quick just talk about the way that I feel COVID-19 has helped us, and this is not a new point by any means, but helped us see some of the existent problems that we already had in our social structures and economy, and showing us the need for more localized production. And so things like the community garden effort, we're growing a garden out here, is all part of that restructuring that we need to do. Because what were you saying earlier about agriculture and the need to be cycling out different things? Can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah, so that kind of hits on the eating organically. And local food is great because people tend to grow their food organically, more organic than, say, USDA approved organic.
I've heard that's not really indicative of
It's
much.
definitely better than not organic. I always choose that at the grocery store, but I more choose that because that's almost like voting for a more sustainable food system. I'm paying extra for my vote, which is ridiculous. That's not how our system should be set up. But
If it's got a sticker, it means a hippie has blessed it, right?
yeah, they probably have long hair. They might look like me. I don't know. But you want to buy organically and grow organically, which, again, most local producers do. Not producers, farmers, gardeners.
They're producers.
Producers, yeah, we produce. But you want that because, one, you don't use chemicals in the soil. That, of course, that's just like a direct pollutant that goes into the ground that affects the bugs, that affects the birds. And again, the birds, you want to not pollute the environment, and you don't want to pollute the things that are flying around the globe, making sure that everything is synchronized. Birds are so important. I might bring them up a few times.
Someone's got a thing for birds.
But, so you don't want to spray those pesticides, and then also growing organically, it's not a monoculture farm.
Mono means one, and monoculture or monocrop farm means that there's just one thing there. So those cornfields that you see that are just miles and miles, acres and acres of corn, that's grown there every year, and it's just corn. And each plant soaks up a certain nutrient and gives out a certain nutrient. So one way to keep nutrients in your soil is by rotating crops, crop rotation. So if you do tomatoes one year, you don't want to, in a garden bed, in a space, you don't want to do tomatoes in that bed again because it's already leached up the nutrients that it uses. So keeping the soil healthy by crop rotation is really important. That's part of organic gardening. Maybe not the USDA organic gardening, farming, production, but definitely what locals do. And that's great because you don't want to deplete the soil and turn it into a barren wasteland. We have movies that depict how terrible that would be. And so eating organically is important, and eating locally helps on several fronts, including keeping the soil rich, nutrient rich, and cutting down your emissions. If you're buying food from China, imagine the carbon footprint that goes into that compared to buying eggs from the lady down the street. And then it also just boosts the economy.
And local food always tastes better.
It always tastes better.
For sure.
I did not like tomatoes until I had homegrown tomatoes, and now I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
And now we've dedicated about half of our garden space to tomatoes.
Because they're so good. And it's been so great to garden here. It's brought me back to what kind of got me into sustainability, which was gardening. And I love it. And you should all get into it. Now's the perfect time with COVID-19. And we all have extra time and hopefully a bunch of lawn that we can turn into food.
Not as hard as you think, and there's plenty of resources out there for getting started. Just start moving, and you'll figure it out as you go.
Also, the permablitz, right?
If you're in Salt Lake,
if you're feeling
permablitz
overwhelmed
and
by
want
the
a garden.
concept of a garden you've never gardened before, you have a resource right at the tips of your fingers.
I was going to give a shout out to the Utah Permaculture Collective because they are a great resource if you want to start a garden and have a community. And to Wasatch Community Gardens, who if you don't have space in your own yard, you can be a part of one of theirs. One of their gardens, one of their plots. They have them all over the Salt Lake Valley, and they're just an incredible organization. And then also Green Urban Lunchbox, who does a number of different great things with local food. I worked for them doing the Fruit Share, which is an incredible program where a third of fruit from residential trees goes to the owner, and then a third to volunteers that help pick the fruit, and then a full third to hunger relief organizations, but usually because residents and volunteers don't need 100 pounds of apples, a lot of it goes to different hunger relief organizations. And it's just such a great program. You guys should look into all those. Those are great ways to learn how to garden, to get into it, and to create a community. So that was my long number 2. My other ones aren't as long.
And 5 more to go. Oh, wait, no. 8 more to go.
8 more to go. The third one also has to do with food. It is don't eat meat, or at least cut it out of your diet. And if you do eat meat, try to eat locally.
But what am I going to do without my daily hamburger?
I can't wake up without 2 hamburgers in the morning.
I know, it's like my routine. It's a ritual for me.
Well, if you want to eat 2 hamburgers in the morning, 2 at night, and 2 in the evening,
Tell your heart good luck.
tell your heart good luck. Tell your wallet good luck, because you should buy all of that meat from local farmers. I learned today that there's actually bird-friendly produced beef, which is
Whoa.
really cool.
Bird friendly?
I don't
What?
totally know what all of that entails, but one, I know that they aren't using a bunch of antibiotics to feed their beef.
Are you trying to tell me that producing meat is hurting the birds?
Yes.
What about the cows?
Yeah.
I love how they're like, cows, screw them. But I don't want to see one bird drop dead from this operation. The chickens, See ya. They can't fly.
They're not real birds.
Not real birds.
They're little dinosaurs.
Well, that's
for sure.
exciting to hear one of the worst industries in the world trying to do a little bit of something.
Yeah, there are a lot of good meat producers. I think a lot of hardcore vegans are going to be mad to hear me say this, but the livestock can have good lives and incorporate into the environment. Having animals on a farm can be really good because they produce manure, and that goes into the soil quite well, and that adds nutrients to the soil, which we talked about earlier. One thing I was going to hit on is that the reason why it's environmentally unethical to eat meat is because it uses a lot of resources to produce a pound of meat versus a pound of black beans, and they have similar like protein content in them. It takes a lot of water. It takes food that could have gone to people. It goes to the cows. And then also grazing, cows grazing in the desert, in the Utah forest, or not forest, the Utah desert. It breaks my heart because we have this beautiful, fragile ecosystem with cryptobiotic soil, and these cows are just tromping it. They're destroying creeks and streams, and
Those cows are everywhere
they're
down
everywhere, and it's just not good for the environment to have them out and about. If you have one or two, if you have like a very sustainable meat production industry, that's great, but overall, I think if I were ruler of the world, one of the things that I would do is cut out just no cows. They're cute.
there. Can we make you ruler of
cows.
the
We can have
world?
some cows,
If
Hail
it's a Democratic
Georgie.
vote, I'll take it.
but
Sacred cows.
sacred cows, sure.
Sacred cows can stay, just
And-
not in the desert.
Isn't a majority of our deforestation due to cattle ranching? Most of the, we have how many millions of people growing hungry, and we have excess amount of corn. It's not going to people. It's going to
going
feed
to
cows who are farting up the air and contributing to climate change. And of course, none of that, it's just so bad. The dairy industry is so bad in every single way. I can't drive this home enough for the environment.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to hijack your
No,
tips.
that's a great thing that I wasn't going to talk about, but I think we should all acknowledge the rainforest. The reason why it's burning isn't because there's just like random fires. It's because cattle ranchers are actually burning the forest for more land, for more cattle. And the government down there isn't doing anything to stop it.
Because
So-
all they care about, like our government, is making a little money by exploiting the land. You
And
think
it's-
about, I'm not going to go into my rainforest spiel.
It's funny because they could actually be making good money in an ecological way, and that's true for everything that I'm hitting on tonight. I wanted to tie in before I go on to number 4 that don't eat meat unless it's a local product. That also ties into just all animal products. The cheese you eat comes from those cows. If you eat local cheese, it's way better, and it's just so good. I love cheese. I love goat cheese. You should buy those things locally. Eggs, cheese.
Milk?
I don't know what other...
Although, who drinks milk anymore these days?
Yeah, I don't
Jeez.
know. I guess if you're a
Not to
cereal
shame
eater.
anyone or anything.
But oat milk is 100 times better than any dairy milk.
Yeah, oat milk is just amazing. Can I just plug that right now?
Yeah. This is a paid ad for oat milk.
Oat milk.
yes.
It's good. Oat, yes. Okay, so number 4, we have... let's see. Number 4, something, again, that I hope you have heard of, and I hope you've incorporated into your lifestyle, is ride your bike and public transit. It's just such an obvious thing to do that a lot of people have shrugged off, thinking that they can't do it. And I challenge you to try once a month, or just for a full week or full month a year, and see how easy it is. Maybe public transit is hard for folks who can't afford it.
Isn't it cheaper than a car?
It is cheaper than a car, but if you already have a car, that's kind of how people justify not doing it. And maybe you also don't have a bike, but
Bikes can be expensive.
Bikes can be expensive. They can also be, fairly cheap depending on your budget. The Salt Lake City Bicycle Collective, the Ogden Bicycle Collective, and I think there's a Provo one also, but I never think about that part of the state, so...
Who does?
So
you know
who
what I
knows?
mean. Just kidding.
But riding your bike, we all know, is good for you, and I think anything that is good for you is also good for the environment. We are part of the environment. It's good for your mental health, it's good for your physical health, and it's good for the environmental health. And then public transit, again, right now we're not doing that. I don't suggest that anybody rides public transit right now unless you need to, and that is your way of getting around and commuting. But when COVID is over, I think taking advantage of those resources is really great. And Salt Lake City has incredible bike infrastructure here. There's actually a map on, I think it's SLC Bike or Bike SLC. Yeah. And they have maps that show you, it's like a ski map of the mountain. They have green routes that are easy for the hills because we have hills.
Oh.
And then there's Black Diamond and there's Blue. I never do the Black Diamond, but I do the blue
Wow.
ones
I
because
didn't
my house is
even-
at the top of a blue route. But it's really cool. And then for public transit, we have a pretty great system ever since the Olympics came around. And they're like, oh, we need to look
Modernize.
cool. Yeah, we need to let alcohol happen. They also,
That came from the Olympians?
the Olympics beefed up our public transit, UTA.
Oh, Olympics. Okay.
Olympics.
I heard Olympians?
I thought you
the ones
mispronounced
from,
this
it was
Yeah,
the
yeah, no,
Olympians from Greece that started all this.
Yeah.
Hail Zeus.
But yeah, so we have tracks. We have that S line in Sugar House that's a little slow. We have our buses, and we have the front runner. And if you are a Salt Lake City resident and or work in Salt Lake City, you can actually get a discounted pass. It's called a Hive Pass. It's ridehive.org. It's not an organization. I don't know, .com.
Google it.
Search for Hive Pass, yeah, and it's like $40 for a month, and you don't have to renew it every month, but it's great. I think it's absolutely worth it. And
Do they do front runner on that?
they
again?
do front runner on that, and you get green bike also. And if you just don't fill up your car 3 times over a year,
Wow.
like that, it
It evens out.
evens out financially, and I think it's a great option.
I'm learning so
So-
much from this. Like,
I'm
seriously.
glad. That's the whole point.
Yay.
So I have a piece of advice I want to share. And
Yeah.
I think people will be able to pick me up on the mics.
Cool.
A lot of people don't live in a situation where they can bike. It's just not feasible where they live. And so I always tell people just like the opportunity at some point is going to come where you're going to move. And just when you move, just keep it in mind to make that a priority. And, we all kind of start doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And one reason why I used to be pretty into city planning was because we could build our cities in a way that public transportation and riding bikes isn't a whole thing that we have to deal with. It's a very easy thing, and that's why I like living in Salt Lake City, because I can bike down to the bars, I can bike to my job, I can bike to the grocery store, I can take tracks up the hill if I don't want to do that blue line up to my house.
I like how you dropped how you were casually into city planning. Like, I knit, I sometimes paint a little, and I plan entire cities. It's just
And I'm an environmentalist.
And I know a lot about birds. So that was number 4.
sorry,
number
we're distracting you.
Number 5 is reuse before you recycle. There's this really big fad about how recycling means that you're sustainable and green and how you have a green thumb. That's like the wrong metaphor to begin with, and it's just not true. Recycling isn't necessarily a sustainable thing. In fact, I would say it's unsustainable. However, if you have the option to recycle or throw something away, of course, always recycle, but you want to reuse first. It's reduce reuse, and then recycle. And I feel like that triangle, that's so dumb. It should just be a line. It should be reduce,
Arrow.
reuse, and recycles down at the bottom with some sad
Garbage.
icons. Of some
And I want to point out that if you do recycle, make sure you clean out your containers, because otherwise that recyclable material will just go into the trash. So you literally have to rinse out everything that you recycle and clean it as though it were a dish, right?
You jumped ahead.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. I just feel so passionate about that.
That's great. That's great. Number 6 is recycle and know how to. But before we jump into a few more tips for people on that, I want to talk more about reducing and reusing. There are so many ways to do this in your life. There's a fun challenge. If it's not like a streamlined thing, it should be of seeing how much garbage you collect one week, just like living your average life. And then the second week, trying to accumulate as little garbage as possible. Garbage being recyclables or not. But you can reduce like paper towel usage. I know that we're all stuck at home right now. We're probably going through our things, and there's old t-shirts that you have. Cut them up and use them as rags. Like, we don't need paper towels.
And yet everyone's hoarding them, and it's like, we shouldn't even be using them. You could just use a reusable rag.
Yeah.
Just have a napkin that you use throughout the week, a cloth napkin that you reuse throughout the week, and then at the end of the week you can just wash it.
Yeah, I use bandanas, and my friends, one, think I'm cool because I have all these cool looking bandanas.
You are cool.
And two, you can use them for anything. I take them hiking. I use them to like actually clean my house.
Use them
and
as
I use them as
snot.
napkins when I eat. Yeah, you can blow your
Blow
nose.
your nose.
A friend of mine uses cloth diapers.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a thing that
Reusable.
I don't
Use
have to
them
deal with right now.
As
so.
toilet paper?
Eh.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I'm not that
I'm still on the
progressive.
toilet paper train, but you can also reduce your consumption of toilet paper with bidets. It's a really straightforward thing.
board.
Get on board.
Get on the
Get on those
bidet.
bidets.
And this
If my
is
little brother's
sponsored
watching, he's gonna
by
be so
a
stoked.
bidet.
There are just so many ways to reduce, and I need to maybe kick a dead horse, beat a dead horse about the very general things. Is one,
I thought we were environmentalists here.
we are.
We're not animal rights. They're not part of the
Oh,
environment.
right.
But don't use to-go coffee mugs. If you're staying at a place, just ask. If you go to Starbucks, which isn't what I'm suggesting you do, if you go to any coffee shop, ask, can I have a coffee to stay? I want it in a mug. Just always say it. They're not gonna shame you.
And you
or-
can leave with that mug. They legally can't chase you out of the doors.
That brings us to the other point. Just bring your own. Bring your own mug. Have your own water bottle. Don't buy
Said you can't do
plastic water bottles. It actually takes more water and so much petroleum to make a plastic water bottle that water goes into. And then that water, when it's being transported, if it gets hot, those plastics leach into the water and you're literally drinking plastic.
Okay, but what about the myth that bottled water is more pure, or like it has better water? Is that like, is there anything to that?
Most bottled water comes from tap.
Wow, so they're just literally selling us something that we could just get from our faucet.
And they're polluting the environment. A lot of this stuff ends up in the oceans. We all know about microplastics. So just reuse. Don't buy plastic things.
Plastic bags, Ziploc bags.
Yeah,
those are reusable.
I reuse them all the time. You wash them. Another thing is utensils. If you want to be fancy and buy one of those like on-the-go utensils, the like fancy
Bamboo
sporks.
spork.
Yeah, you can do that, or you can just grab an old spork or an old fork or an old spoon or an old knife and just put it in your bag when you go to work and reuse that. You don't need to use plastic silverware.
Ugh, plastic is
Plasticware.
so
Ugh.
gross.
I feel like this happens continually throughout life, but I feel like it happened one time that like changed my mind on it forever, where I was like throwing something away and I was like, where does this go? And then you just think about it and you're like, it goes to a dump, I guess. And how long can the dump fill up? How long have we been dumping things? How long are we gonna dump things? How much space do we have to dump things? What if everyone in the world is dumping this thing right now? We're not gonna be able to take all this dump. And you start freaking out.
It's so true.
You're like, we gotta live in this world, and we're just dumping shit everywhere.
Well, no, scary.
We could eventually send it to space.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Never mind.
Screw all of this.
Or we can just leave it as a dump, and we can go to space. Elon Musk.
Earth is
take
our
me.
new trash
Jeff
can.
Bezos will save us. Sorry.
Great, that was really good. So mugs, water bottles, utensils, straws. We don't need straws.
Get a metal straw.
You aren't all 2-year-olds. They use sippy cups anyways, and those are reusable.
Yeah.
You don't need straws.
Sippy cups are for adults.
Or you could get a metal straw if you really like having a straw and you still identify with being a baby.
Yep, you can do that. Let's see, what was the other one? Bags. Just get reusable bags. And if you don't, take your own old Smith's bag or Walmart bag or natural grocers doesn't
Does
do
Walmart have
bags.
specialty totes?
No doubt. No doubt. But just get a bag. You can make them out of t-shirts so that you don't have to buy them. That's a good way to reuse. So bring your bag to the grocery store. You can do that with the little things too, not just the big things. You can do that with your vegetables, or if you get like those self-serving like nuts. Why can't I think of what those are?
Self-serving nuts?
I don't.
Ooh.
The like big
Like, are you talking about the
bulk. Thank you. That was Kyle. He's smart. Yeah, so you can reuse almost anything, and it's not just the basic things that I just laid out, but that's dishcloths, that's shoes, that's pants, that's anything you own you can reuse, and of course reduce to start with. So don't just buy new clothes because you think you want them. I would say buy used clothes. We don't need to buy new things. There are so many beautiful things that exist in this world that are generally cheaper than things that are being made.
Furniture, clothes, you name it, automobiles,
I mean-
Decor.
machinery,
It's okay to
repair.
things.
Yeah, repair things, absolutely. So that's just a big one that I challenge people to think about next time they're buying something, especially. And next time they have the opportunity when you're stepping out to go to the grocery store, maybe just make a habit to have a cup and a mug and utensils and all the things in your car so that you're ready to go. And, you know,
Smart.
you can always tell your friends about it, shame them a little bit. I do that.
Don't
Maybe-
do that. Shaming is one of the least powerful motivators.
Shame on you if you shame me.
Okay, lightheartedly make fun of them and remind them to do it and give them hugs when they
And
do
inspire
do
them
it.
with your example.
But pretty much just always pretend like you're about to go on a camping trip at all times.
Yeah.
You know?
Right? That's what I'm ready for in my car. It's like I'm
Yeah.
either ready for a disaster or a great camp out.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so be prepared, and with all of these things, just talk about it with your friends, talk about it with your family, see what you can do. Not everything is feasible, not everybody wants to jump into all of these things. But back to Lara's point for number 6, recycle and know how to do it. For a minute there, people were asking the question, is recycling worth it? And the answer is yes. Recently, either last year or a little bit before then, China stopped taking the United States recyclables. And that, in a way, was devastating. But also, it's like, hell yeah, China. Like, stand your ground.
Like, we don't want your garbage.
Yeah. They burn it, and it goes into their environment, which is ultimately our environment. So what needs to happen, and what I would love to see, is, you know, infrastructure's coming up, businesses starting where recycling is actually really well done. I was sad to see, and I might be wrong on this, but I remember reading it and feeling really sad that Oregon, we all think of Oregon as like the shining example of recycling because they have food waste, they have, I think, paper, aluminum, glass, and if they don't, I just imagined all these different wonderful ways for people to sort their trash, because that's what it is. Recyclables are trash to you. They go somewhere else because you don't want them anymore. And Oregon had to cut back on that because a lot of that stuff was being shipped to China. And people were saying, well, it's not worth it anymore because I know that my recyclables are being thrown into the trash. My mom has said this. Mom, you're wrong if you're watching. Sorry, Mom, I love you.
Calling you out on international television. Thanks for birthing me.
You're great. I love you very much. But you can recycle things, and you should know how to do it. You do need to clean out your recyclables. That was going back and forth for a while. Like you do, you don't. Just because in every different city or county, there's a certain place that takes your recycling. We have Momentum Recycling here, or Salt Lake Recycling. And they do it different ways. So you should look up to see what you can and what you can't. They lay it out so clearly on their websites, and people just don't think to go look at that. Like, how do I recycle? What is recyclable? In Salt Lake, and in general, if you have cardboard, and it was a pizza box, if there's grease on it, you can't recycle that. That's just not, you just can't. There's no way to recycle that paper with the oil in it. There's a lot of things, I'm trying to see if there's anything disposable around me. But there are a lot of things that have a coating of wax and it's paper, or a coating of plastic and paper, and those things aren't recyclable. Also in Salt Lake City, one big tip is that if you do have a bottle of like a plastic something, whether that's a peanut butter jar or a water bottle, a Mountain Dew bottle, I don't know, I can't think of good examples right now. Ugh. But keep the cap on. Make sure everything is rinsed out, but keep the cap on, because that little cap won't get recycled otherwise, because it's too small.
Wow.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, the stretchy plastics. This is where the Smith's bags or the Savers bags, not Savers, Safeway bags, any grocery store bag that's stretchy, and any stretchy plastic, that includes Ziplocs, a lot of packaging that goes around things, that stretchy plastic, those can be recycled at most grocery stores. They have a bin where they will take that and you just put it in, and that'll actually get recycled. It can all be recycled with each other. The reason why is it's a certain number of plastic. There are actually 7 types of plastic, 1 through 7. 1 is like the general water bottle. I have no idea what the other ones are, but one of them is the stretchy plastics, and that's what they're made out of. So those can all be recycled together, but they do not go into your recycle bins at home. And that might be true for other places, but here in Salt Lake and here in Utah, that is not an option. And of course,
And
glass
I wouldn't
recycling.
bank on it in other places.
Yeah, some places it's tough. Glass recycling, of course, we all know that there's different places for glass recycling.
I
I'm
learned
surprised-
something.
Oh, go ahead.
I learned something from you, Georgie, I think last week, which is when you're recycling glass, you need to take the lid off, and the lid can go in your normal recycling bin. But you don't recycle the lid with the glass, which I
Correct.
had no idea before.
Yeah,
So
because they just want the glass.
right.
Yeah.
That makes total sense now that I think about it.
So most of those lids on jars, I'm thinking of like Adam's peanut butter. That's a metal lid. I'm doing the think, think, think.
I do that all the time.
Yeah,
that's what
you
you
do
do
with
there,
those
yeah.
lids. And then you put them in the recycle bin. Or you reuse the jar. I don't know. I can't think of other things besides food waste. If you have a yard waste bin, those brown bins, you can put your food waste in that. Not meat, but any produce, eggs, coffee grounds. I was told you can also put like hair in there, like out of your brush. I don't do that.
I've got a few bushels I need to get rid of for reasons I don't need to get into.
Why have you been saving your hair?
I didn't say it was my hair.
Oh, okay.
Moving on.
Good point.
So look that up too, wherever you are. If you're not in Salt Lake and you don't have one of those rolly bins, see if you can get one. See if your neighbor wouldn't mind. Most neighbors don't mind unless it's like leaf raking season. Then they really mind. Don't do it then. But if you're in a different state, just look up to see if you can do that. And the last thing is electronic waste, the most toxic waste that we have. There is a place in every, I think, county in Salt Lake, if I remember, or not Salt Lake, in Utah, if I remember correctly, that will take electronic waste. You can load up your car and you can drive there. And I know in Salt Lake County, if you call them and you're like, hey, I have a giant TV screen and I need it recycled, they'll have people come out and help you and take it.
I had no idea.
The University of Utah does this twice a year, where they'll take shredded paper and electronic waste. That includes batteries, light bulbs, appliances, old phones, whether they're the new phones, whether those old phones, any wires you have, like it can all be recycled. And electronic waste is the most toxic waste. It used to go to China. It used to be burned.
Oh,
That's
God.
horrific.
That's
horrific.
awful.
And also really good to know that about the recycling centers here, because
Yeah.
I've definitely
Yeah.
been moving and had something that didn't work anymore, so I couldn't take it to a thrift store. And
Yeah,
I feel
I've just-
bad. I gotta huck this. It feels like a
I've just
crime
been
against the
keeping
planet.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I
Just
literally
hoarding it.
just don't know what else to do with it.
Yeah, maybe not during COVID-19, but
You're
when
right.
it's all over, you can take it to the county. And the best part about it is they actually do reuse most of that stuff. If it's wiring, they'll figure out a way to reuse it, or from my understanding, maybe
I would
it's janky.
love a bunch of wires.
I like to think that they reuse it as much as possible and then dispose of it responsibly.
For your art, right?
Yeah, for crafts.
Yeah.
So that's know how to recycle. Again, you can look up wherever you live and see what the rules are, and they generally lay it out just so clearly on the website, because they're like, know how to do this. We're sick of sorting your waste.
We actually got a notice, they left a note, and they're like, yeah, we're not picking this up. You need to learn how to.
Yeah.
And it was plastic grocery bags, which are plastic number 4.
Plastic number
Plastic
four.
number 4 grocery
Good
bags.
thing that was not number 4 on my
That was in
list.
South Salt Lake, and I think now they do recycle those.
Wow.
They still don't recycle those stretchy bags, as far as
Are
I
those,
know.
grocery bags?
Yeah.
Oh,
One good tip that I forgot to say is, if you are recycling things, you don't need to put those recyclables in a bag. Just take the trash bin and dump it into the recycle bin. You don't bag your recyclables. Usually if they're sorting it and they find a bag that's that stretchy plastic that they can't recycle, at least for Salt Lake County, that whole bag gets thrown away, because they're not going to rip open your bag and sort it. They're just going to throw it and then keep going.
Just because there's so much and they can't take
There's
a second
so
to open
much.
it.
Yeah. I mean, if
It's
they
grim.
maybe if our economy was based on green infrastructure and green collar jobs,
Yeah.
then yes. But that's
Did you say
my-
green collar jobs? I love that. I've never heard that, and I want a green collar job.
should read The Green Collared Economy by somebody I don't remember.
green collar.
I try. I have a lot of green collars. It's my favorite color.
Kind of teal, but
That's not green.
Green
You guys
tones.
colorblind?
I said it's kind of teal.
Anyways.
Anyways,
Vote in the comments. Green or teal or blue. We don't know.
Make it super blue in post.
It's my.
Really wrong.
It's an optical illusion. It's actually this is a white dress. It's not even.
a white dress. For number 7, we have
The 7 leave no trace principle.
Right.
Woo! Yeah. So this is something that I don't think a lot of people. I don't know how general knowledge it is, if it's in your schema or not. But if it isn't, now's the time to learn. So there are 7 leave no trace principles, and these principles, which we'll go over in a second, are intended to keep our wilderness and just our outdoor environments in general clean and beautiful, not only for us, not only for the next person, but for the animals, the birds. And this isn't just for hiking in the Wasatch or out in the desert, but it's also for gardens. It's just outdoor spaces in general, things that you want to do. Laura,
Yes.
do you remember some of the 7 principles?
Whew.
Yeah, Laura.
Being put on
Do
the
you
spot
care about
here.
enough about the planet to list 7 of the principles?
You know, whenever I think of leave no trace, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, number 1, leave.
Leave.
Number
just
2,
leave.
no trace.
Number 1, get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
But actually, I don't really remember any specific ones, but I think like the general idea is like if you go camping or backpacking or whatever, to leave the space as though you did not come, basically, as though no one was there. And I'm sure there are 7 specific things to do within that basic concept.
The first one, you can guess. Maybe it's not the first in the actual order, but the one that I think of, that most people think of, is pack it in, pack it out. If you pack something in, you pack it out. You don't go in with a bunch of trash and just leave it there. You take it out with you. And
pack it out, pack it in. Trash is a sin. Sorry.
But in addition to that, you also pick up what's there. You just want to clean up as you go. You want to leave the environment as nice as it is. And this also means, like, don't graffiti things. Don't carve your name into trees. Don't do those things. Don't arrange rocks. Don't put up cairns. Unless, like, if cairns are supposed to be there, they're supposed to be there, and it's a national park, and they say where things can and cannot be put up. But don't just build a cairn because it's cool. Like, don't do that.
That's what a lot of people do. No.
Yeah, wait, why? Why can't
If you just
cairns?
build, a cairn, it's
I think it's cairn.
A cairn.
A cairn.
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 Cairns.
Yeah.
Vote.
Those are stacks of rocks, and usually those represent trails, like this way for the rest of the trail. Some people build extra ones, and they just build ones that are pretty. One, that can get people lost, and 2, it's just unnecessary, and that's not the natural world. We're going out into nature to be submerged into nature, not to see what the last guy did in nature because it was cool.
Fair enough.
And I never build them. And if you're on just a regular trail, the trail's super straightforward, and you see one, push it over. I know rangers in Zion National Park on, like, very designated trails. People build them, and they just go around knocking them over and picking up people's poop, which is gross and unfortunate.
If you really want to build a cairn, maybe you should get some Lincoln logs. You know, those like
do it in your
toys?
backyard and make it. Do that. That's cool, but don't do it in a space that other people are going to see it, or build it and knock it over like those monks. They make pretty things and then they destroy them.
Sounds like my kind of monk.
Another big one is plan ahead. People don't really think about that as, like, a way to be responsible in the environment.
You mean I should bring water on a hike that I go on?
You should bring water. You should bring bags. You should bring trash bags.
But why?
If you're going out into the desert for overnight camping or for several days, you want to bring those wag bags or whatever you need to dispose of your personal human waste properly, because you don't leave that in the desert. You bring that out. You don't just poop in the desert. You don't do that. You have to pack that out. And if you're in other wilderness areas that aren't the desert, you bring a shovel with you so that you can bury it. You need to prepare beforehand. Also, if you go and you don't bring water and you trip and fall and break your leg and a helicopter has to come in and land, that helicopter is going to cause a whole lot of disruption. If a whole SWAT team needs to come up and get you, they're going to cause disturbances. Like, you just need to be prepared. You need to know what you're getting into. Let's see. Oh, yeah. You need to travel on trails or durable surfaces. You don't ever want to travel off trail. There are what is called social trails, where people make them and it kind of like, it looks like an additional trail just because so many people have been doing it because they've been taking shortcuts. Don't take those. Stay on the main trail. You don't want to have paths going all through the wilderness. You want that to be wilderness for the animals and for the environment in general, and for us, because that stuff brings a lot of wonderment and awe to us. It's inspiring. We go out there for so many reasons. It's good for our health, and if we went out there and they were all trails and you couldn't not look into the trees and like wonder what's out there, I think that damages the fabric of what nature and what wilderness is to us, let alone it's bad for the environment. Leave what you find. That's a big one. I had some friends, we went out and there was a bunch of petrified wood, and they were just like loading up petrified wood and beautiful rocks. And it's like, no, leave that. What is that gonna do in your house? You're gonna tell your friends how cool you are because you have petrified wood because you went to a slot canyon that one time. That's not okay, because if we're all going to take that petrified wood, one, we're disrupting that environment, that ecosystem that is a part of. Two, it's ruining the beauty for other people. And three, it's just in general, like we can't just take everything we find. Rocks don't belong in our house. The environment belongs where it's supposed to be. So leave what you find. Minimize campfire impacts. I know a lot of people that say just don't do fires out in the wilderness. And if you do a fire, you bring a pan so that you can start the fire on top of that so that you don't scorch the earth. Burning wood on top of soil will ruin everything below it. It also leaves a pretty ugly mark. I don't know if you've come to a beautiful place and then you've just seen like a really ugly campfire. So minimize campfire impacts. Respect wildlife. That's a big one. If you see like a cute squirrel or any animal, don't approach it. Just let it be. Like respect
But what
wildlife.
if it wants to be fed?
Do not feed wildlife. That is such a bad thing. People should not do that. You should never feed ducks bread. That kills ducks. I see people doing it at the ponds all the time. Just don't feed wildlife. And if you really want to, look up things that are good for wildlife to eat. But we don't want to train wildlife to depend on us for food. That kind of, once they're dependent on us and then once we stop feeding them, it can be really bad for them. And the last one is be considerate of other visitors. If you're going up to hot springs and you're just going for a nice quiet time, you don't want someone coming with their loudspeaker and ruining it for everybody else. I'm sure we've all had that experience to a degree.
This is like, this should have been number one.
Yeah.
Just like, do not bring stereos outside.
Especially to hot springs.
Yeah.
If you're hiking, just don't listen to music unless you have headphones. We're not hiking to listen to your music.
I do not want to hear your music.
We're hiking to be in nature. So that's the whole don't disturb other people when you're out in nature. We're all trying to share it. And there's less and less of it all the time. More and more of us are going there. And we don't want to love a place to death. So those are the 7 principles. I didn't count them, but I got all of them. So that's good.
Little did you know you were getting 17 tips. Bonus.
Number 8 is real quick. It's don't idle. Don't idle your car. If you're in a position where you are going to be staying for a while in your car, just turn it off. If your engine is on for, let's see, turning on and off your engine does take power, but it's equivalent to 10 seconds of your engine running.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Like, is it better to turn off your engine or
Yeah.
to leave it?
If it's more than 10 seconds, it's worth turning it off.
Okay.
Especially in
That's
a
good to know.
drive-through, people around
Yeah.
sitting there don't want to breathe.
Oh,
exhaust,
yeah.
Turn it off.
Yeah.
it off.
Drive-throughs,
Like a
if you're
light
behind a
switch.
train,
Yeah.
and most importantly, if you're at a school, those little kids
Ugh.
don't need to breathe in your exhaust.
Why
Like,
are you lingering
just
at a
turn
school
it off.
anyway?
Yeah, if you're in the parking
Come
lot,
on.
turn it off. People are walking around.
You know what's my favorite? People who leave their car on at the gas station while filling up gas.
That's dangerous.
Wait,
don't
wait,
do
you
that.
can do that?
You can do
I
it.
have always wondered.
I won't name names.
I think I
But
know
I've seen it.
exactly who you're talking about, and it's dangerous. That can cause combustion.
I didn't even realize that was possible. I thought literally I would blow up if I did that.
It's a
Right.
waste of gas. It's a waste of money. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for you to breathe in, and your car could combust. Don't do that.
But you'd make the news.
You'd make the news, and you don't want that. You don't want to be in the news for that.
Like live leak videos of gas stations burning.
Totally.
You'll be on there for sure.
Yeah, you'll be on the internet forever.
Unless
One
that's what
hell
you
of an
want.
obituary.
There are lots of places that have. Oh, I think my computer just died.
He died
No,
doing
don't.
what he loved. Being a
That have
total idiot.
idle-free ordinances. Salt Lake City has one. If you idle for more than 2 minutes, technically you can get a ticket.
Oh.
I've asked cops why they don't enforce that while they were idling their car. I had a little wine and I was with my mom after the movies. And she said, I feel bad enforcing that when I'm a hypocrite. And I think there's a whole system.
Did you put him under citizen's arrest?
Can we say that about cops speeding as well? Because when cops pull over other cars,
See it all the time.
usually-
They don't even use their blinker. They just...
We love cops. We
Cops are
appreciate
great.
them, and they're great public servants. Number 9, don't burn wood. People don't want to hear this. The smell of wood smoke is really good, but it's really bad for you, and it's really bad for the environment. The one statistic that I wanted to share was that one old, inefficient wood-burning stove going for an hour is equivalent to 5 old diesel trucks running for an hour.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot of pollution.
Wait, can you say that one more time? Sorry.
So a wood-burning stove burning for an hour emits as much pollutants as 5 diesel trucks.
Going
Burning
for an hour. Oh, wow.
That's a lot of pollution. Another statistic that I remember is that if you burn 10 pounds of wood, that's equivalent to smoking, it was 60, Oh no. It was either 60 or 30,000 packs of cigarettes. Packs of cigarettes. So imagine like 10 pounds of cigarettes and then 10 pounds of wood.
Wow.
In those, there's different chemicals that are bad for us as well as the environment. And just imagine smoking that many cigarettes in an hour, because you can burn 10 pounds of wood in an hour easy.
Oh my gosh.
I actually switched from cigarettes to Twiggerettes. It's just wood that you smoke, and it's great.
But wood, people claim like different woods emit less pollutants, but it's combustion, and there are over 200 toxic chemicals in wood when burnt.
Wow.
Yes, we evolved with wood, but people who lived around campfires didn't live very long, and we're actually, our lifespans are a lot longer. We don't need that. Especially we don't need it in our homes. If you have a wood-burning fireplace or a wood-burning stove in your house,
Grow
you're
up.
trapping that wood in your house, and you're sleeping with that constantly.
So the fake fireplace is better.
The fake
Oh my
fireplace is
gosh.
much better.
As a kid, I was always
Devastating.
like, oh, we have a fake fireplace. But now I'm really thankful.
Yeah.
I wanted to have more to say with that. Burning wood is extremely inefficient. Per unit of heat created, wood produces even more CO2 than fossil fuels do. That's something to think about. If you have a heater versus you're burning wood, go with the heater, don't burn wood. And it goes directly into our environment. And if you can smell it, that means you're breathing in those pollutants. If it's a green air day, meaning a clean air day, and your neighbor is burning wood and you can smell it, your day is not a clean green air day.
You have ruined my clean green air day.
The last one, not a lot of
Drum
people
roll.
think about. I don't know if it's often discussed. It might be.
There we go.
Is don't light fireworks, which people don't want to hear.
Dad, I'm
I
so
love-
sorry that you have to hear this one, because I know that you loved lighting fireworks at Grandma's birthday party.
All the dogs are just like, hell yeah.
Yeah. There are so many reasons not to light fireworks. I'm gonna
None of
read
them
off a
include
thing.
Pioneer Day.
Firework smoke is composed of coarse particles, which is PM10, fine particles, PM2.5, and toxic compounds found in, I can't even do that word, perchlorate, I did it, remnants. and sulfur and potassium in the gunpowder that produces the bang. And of course, there's a bunch of heavy metals that produce the colors that you see. Fireworks are so bad. And the thing is, they come in that packaging, they go up into the air. That packaging doesn't just disappear in the air. That smoke, that plume of smoke is heavy and it's coming down and we're gonna breathe it in. If you can smell it, you're breathing in pollutants, you're breathing in toxins and heavy metals. It's not good for you. It's not good for the environment. It also causes a lot of disruption for the animal kingdom. Birds, of course. Dogs are a really good example. They always hide. It's a really scary thing, and something that I was just blown away by. It's, we celebrate certain holidays like Independence Day with these loud, warlike bangs. And what about people who have PTSD from that? I think it's just so inconsiderate. It's also not safe.
Yeah.
Fires can start. People are really dumb with fireworks. There's just no reason to have fireworks. And my family, we have a tradition of sitting on our roof because we have a really great view of the city. And every time we're up there and, on 4th of July or New Year's or whenever, and we see all these fireworks around the valley, it's just like thinking of, I don't know, millions, billions of dollars just being blown up in the sky. Imagine if all of that money could go to something else.
America.
It blows me away. I wonder if there was one more.
But boy, does it look spectacular.
It does look spectacular.
Chemistry.
Yeah. I'm going to read this last thing. The Division of Air Quality, the DAQ, monitors, their monitors, the DAQ monitors, consistently show extremely high short-term concentrations of PM 2.5 associated with fireworks. In fact, in Ogden City, their worst air day doesn't occur in the winter, when we usually have an aversion. It happens on July 4th, when when particulate matter concentrations can jump to 20 times higher than normal. These readings are in line with research on the impacts of fireworks have on air quality nationwide. So
Wow.
it's not good. Just opt out of fireworks. It's not what people want to hear, but we have better ways of celebrating than fireworks.
Like what?
We can look at the stars.
Not in the city, you can't.
And that's why you turn off your
our
lights.
Turn off our lights and stop idling our cars and burning smoke and doing all the other fun things that we thought made life enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's a big, hard to obtain goal, but it'd be so great if we lived in a world where we could see the stars, where Green Party candidates actually won, and where
we all
could
wore green collars.
where we had green-collared economy. It could be possible maybe one day. And maybe COVID will help shift some attitudes and mindsets and show what systems could be changed.
Yeah.
And that's why we're talking about it now and why we're making art. There's a lot of people involved in this effort and changing the system from the ground up, because we know that the trickle-down economy and the trickle-down morality isn't working. It's something that has to start with a change in our attitudes and behaviors.
Yeah, and I do want to add, we can individually do these things. The 10 tips I shared with you guys, it's smart to practice these things anyways. In a way, again, it's like voting with your money or voting with your actions of this is the life that I want. But ultimately, we do need change systematically, and we do need change in our politicians. We need decision makers to listen to people who know the science and understand how we can live in harmony with the world.
But science doesn't seem to really favor the economy, does it, Georgie?
It can. There's a book, Green Collared Economy. You guys should read it. I don't know who it's by. But those are my 10 tips.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank you so
Georgie.
much for educating us.
I would like to read one thing from a Terry Tempest Williams book, Refuge. It's about the Great Salt Lake and the Bear, I'm going to butcher that. The Refuge, the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. That's over out there. And this, we read it last night, and it really just hit home for me. So I wanted to share it with you. My dyslexic self will read it out loud. So Terry Tempest Williams is out at Great Salt Lake with her friend. This is the context, and they are driving around looking at birds. We spoke of rage, of women and landscape, how our bodies and the body of the earth have been mined. It has everything to do with intimacy, I said. Men define intimacy through their bodies. It is physical. They define intimacy with the land in the same way. Men have forgotten what they are connected to, my friend added. Subjugation of women and nature may be a loss of intimacy within themselves. She paused, then looked at me. Do you feel rage? I didn't answer for some time. I feel sadness. I feel powerless at times. But I'm not certain what rage really means. Several miles passed. They're driving. Do you? I asked. She looked out the window. Yes, perhaps your generation, one behind mine, is a step removed from pain. I wanted to share that because I feel a lot of rage when it comes to these issues because it's so clear that things can be done and then they're not. I remember a time at the University of Utah, I just got out of one of my environmental science classes and somebody just threw away a full Starbucks cup, plastic cup, lid, straw of water in the trash, and I freaked out at them. There's so much rage to be had, and that can fuel productivity. And there's also sadness to see what's going on, but there is a lot of hope and there's a lot of support, and I think not giving up and moving forward and learning about these issues, we're all part of this environment. There's no way for you to not be an environmentalist. Even if that's like a term that you never want to identify with, you're part of the environment. There's value in it. You don't want your backyard to be trashed. You don't want your house to be trashed. You don't want to be trashed maybe after like a party. You know what I mean? We all need to care, and caring for each other, caring for the future, caring for the past, caring about art, caring about all of it. It's all intertwined in our environment. So that's why I wanted to read that. It meant a lot to me to hear it, to hear people talking about their own rage and their own sorrow. And we all need to be talking about it because that's what makes change and that's what brings us hope.
Amen. That's a perfect segue to the song we're going to perform right now. This was written sometime last year and kind of over a long period, and reflects those exact feelings of seeing what's happening in the world and viewing the world as this, the beloved other, and seeing all that the planet that she is enduring at men's hands, and it kind of, some of it came from here in Salt Lake, sitting out and looking at Warm Springs Pond, or Warm Springs, where there used to be a hot springs that was like famous. It was a healing water that the Native Americans would come from all over to sit in and be cured of their skin ailments and other things. And it just got overrun, and then it became toxic, and then they shut it down and built a refinery right there. And it's like the most god-awful, ugly eyesore, just like right there in the middle of downtown Salt Lake. And it just was like...
beautiful hot springs. There's a refinery, that nasty refinery. And I just... in our city, that's a bowl that has inversions.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I just sat there crying and just like, what are we doing about this? And the rainforest was burning down, and So I try to channel that rage and that sadness into this song. Sam, you ready to join us? Thank you for those tips. Thank you for sharing that. It was perfect.
Like on the ground for you, Sam.
Thank you.
From the crosshairs of the west, I went following a feeling. I was looking for a field where flowers bloom. On the road I met a prophet. She was pining for a forest, and a sign there said, the end is coming soon. Don't burn me down, don't mess me round. Beloved, sing the words I cannot speak. Now all the leaves are breathing me, so please, please, please don't burn me down. Born again of woman in the midnight silver water, I was singing to the sun by afternoon. There were choirs in the meadow where I wept in smiling reverence at the sight of every face I ever knew. Don't burn me down, don't mess me round. Beloved, walk me home, that's all I need. Now all the leaves are breathing me, so please, please, please don't burn me down. Now the spring that used to heal her grew cruder than the oil man, whose poison flashed like lightning in her veins. He bought her for a hand job, then he shot her in a standoff. And every day I hear her children say, don't burn me down, don't mess me round. Beloved, lit a fire inside of me. Now all her leaves are breathing me, so please, please, please don't burn me down. Now a silhouette at sundown is swallowing the city, while phosphorescent clouds begin to cry. I can taste the acid teardrops, I can hear the static screaming as another smoking barrel bangs the sky. Don't burn me down, don't mess me round. Beloved, sing the words I cannot speak. Now all her leaves are breathing me, so please, please, please don't burn me down. Don't burn me down, don't mess me round. Beloved, lit a fire inside of me. Now all her leaves are breathing me, so please, please, please don't burn me down. All right. Thank you.
Really quick,
One more.
my like
I need a little
thing,
tune.
like, came out of tune mid song.
Oh no!
Can you give me a D really quick?
Yeah.
I was like avoiding. I was
Yeah.
avoiding D the whole time.
Good work.
Did you guys want to talk about that song? I guess you talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
What's this next one about?
This next one is called Songbirds, and I wrote this after attending a rally against the inland port here in Salt Lake. They're building a shipping port that's going to just be a massive carbon bomb on the city. We already have some of the worst air pollution in the entire nation, and sometimes comparable to places like Shanghai and Beijing. So really bad air quality. They're going to bring this here. It's going to be a nightmare. They're building it on a marsh in an essential bird area for migratory birds that come from all over the world. It's just a nightmare. And attending that rally and feeling very energized by the passion of people who care about this and who care about our community and our environment and the world that we're creating for our children. I went home and wrote this kind of a little call to arms. So yeah, let's do it. Dawn breaks over a storm on the Salt Lake. Can the story be changed? Can it ever be changed? Can we ever change? And palms shake, mourning the start of a long day before the charade, before the charade. Songbirds sing for their lives, and the strong ones, how peaceful they fly, how peaceful they fly. How peaceful they fly. And the shadow reaches again. It's a battle, and they say we can win. 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 They say we can win.
Woo! Yes! Woo!
Thank you very much. All right. Now we need our closeout music and hands up. We'll do our little bow. Thank you for coming to the
I want to
show.
do a quick plug. If anybody's interested in joining the fight against the proposed Utah inland port, the dirty port that's going to bring diesel trucks to Salt Lake and just double, triple our air pollution, visit stopthepollutingport.org and be part of the meetings. Get your hands in the dirt, so to speak, in the fight, and help make Salt Lake a better place.
Well, thank you, and that's our show. Happy
Happy
Earth
Earth
Day! Woo!
I don't know if the camera's still going.
Yeah.
Is it still going,
I think
Sam?
we should have a dance party at the end of every show. Where's Kyle?
Yeah, where's Kyle? Kyle, we need your moves.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Wait.
I don't think I'm doing it. It doesn't help with the.
Tanner's got it.
I lose it. I
You
lose it
lost
fast.
it.
All right, get it out of here.
I still got it.